Imagine the moonlight glinting off a lacquered rooftop, the hush of a paper-walled home, and the distant echo of temple bells. Tonight, we drift into two tales from an ancient land, one of whispered counsel beneath the cherry moon, and another of flickering firelight where caution and care keep the night safe. Settle in, breathe deep, and let these old-world whispers carry you into gentle dreams. Do not speak at the rebuke of parents. Ask for exhortation in the presence of your brother and his wife. On the shore of a quiet bay stood a reed-thatched house where fishermen mended nets and gulls wrote white lines across the morning. In that house lived Kaiko with her parents, her elder brother Taro, and Taro's wife Aya. Kaiko loved songs, river songs, rice planting songs, songs the traveling shamisen player left behind like footprints. She sang while sweeping, sang while rinsing rice, and sometimes forgetfully sang instead of sweeping or rinsing at all. One afternoon, after a long day on the water, Kaiko's father found the water jars unfilled and the floor unswept. His words were not cruel, but they struck like oars against a dock. "You have a good voice," he said, "but a house needs hands." Heat rose to Kaiko's face. "You only praise nets and jars. What of songs?" Her mother's eyes cooled. "When you are admonished, bow first, words later." Kaiko stormed out toward the pines beyond the rice fields, where the wind combs the needles into a hush. There she met an old woman in a cloak of woven reeds, sitting on a driftwood log as if she had been waiting forever. The woman turned a reed between her fingers and spoke without looking up. "Ears are gates," the old woman murmured. "If you bar them, no blessing enters." Kaiko frowned. "Everyone says to listen, but no one tells me how." The woman nodded, patient as a tide. From the reed she had been turning, she knotted a small loop and pressed it into Kaiko's palm. "A knot holds because both ends agree to bend. Go to Taro and Aya. Ask them how your parents' temper turns with the day." Kaiko returned at dusk. Pride prickled, but the reed knot in her hand felt warm. She bowed to Taro and Aya. "Teach me, when father is weary, what words soothe? When mother rebukes me, how should I answer?" Aya smiled, drawing Keiko beside the brazier. She showed her how to kneel with the body's weight gently folded, how to steady the breath before speaking, how to pour tea for a tired father so the steam rose first toward him, how to answer rebuke with, "I receive it," and only afterwards ask, "Please show me the better way." Taro, who knew their parents' tides, taught the hours to bring requests and the hours to bring silence, and how to let a face be calm even when the heart is not. The very next morning, the test arrived. A sudden squall pinned the fishing boats to shore. Market folk crowded into their house for shelter. Keiko, hurrying, salted the soup twice. Her mother tasted, winced, and in front of the guests spoke sharply, "Child, your rush is a broom that only spreads the dirt." Keiko felt the old heat climb her throat. Her fingers tightened around the ladle. But Aya's hand brushed her sleeve, a reminder. And Keiko remembered the reed knot waiting in her sleeve like a second pulse. She bowed from the knees. "I receive it. Please show me the better way." Her mother's face softened, as if a wind had shifted. "Water, then kelp. We can save it." Together they did. People ate, faces warmed, the storm rattled and moved on. That night, the moon poured milk onto the bay. Keiko walked to the pines to return the reed knot, but the old woman was already there, standing where land becomes sand. "You listen," the woman said. "Now your house will listen to you, in time." "Who are you?" Keiko asked. The woman lifted her reed cloak. For a blink, Keiko glimpsed a shimmer like river light and the shape of a heron. "Only the one who keeps this shore," the woman said. "Houses have roofs. Villages have guardians. When rebuke comes, bow and ask. Asking is how doors open." Seasons turned. Keiko learned the folds of her parents' moods like a map. Her songs did not stop, but now they landed gently on finished chores. When a suitor came from a neighboring inlet, Keiko poured tea the way Aya had taught her. Steam toward the weary, silence toward the proud. Her parents nodded without words. On the morning she left for her new home, Keiko placed the reed knot on the lintel of the old door. Wind threaded through it and sang. In the pines, a heron lifted, circled once, and was gone. Handle carefully when it comes to fire and candles. In the city tucked between river and hill stood the house of Hideo, the lacquer merchant, its beams black as wet ink. Paper doors slid like clouds. Silk banners swayed in the courtyard. Hideo's daughter, Sayo, was quick with sums and quicker with laughter, but candles made her nervous. The house was all wood and paper. One careless spark and the moon would be looking at empty air. "Do not fear fire," said Grandmother Yon, whose hair was the color of ash. "Respect it. Fear makes clumsy hands." She showed Sayo the hearth's grammar. Ash bed, coal nest. The circle cleared to bare clay. A lidded water jar beside every flame, the way to pinch a wick until it sighed into darkness. Soon came the Festival of Lanterns. The neighborhood would hang strings of paper lights along the street. Hideo wanted his house to glow like a floating palace. Sayo was charged with tending the courtyard lanterns and the altar candle for the house kami. "It is an honor," said her father, pressing a flint and steel into her palm. "And a gravity?" The afternoon before the festival, a charcoal seller hobbled into the yard, leaning on a staff wrapped with old hemp. His eyes were bright as cinders. "Good child," he rasped, "buy poor charcoal, and it sulks. Buy proud charcoal, and it climbs. Here, feel the weight." He placed a briquette in Sayo's hand. It was warm as a sleeping sparrow. "Fire is a guest. Ask it, don't order it." Sayo bowed and bought a sack. When she looked up from counting coins, the old man had vanished. No footprints on the dust, just a smell of rain where there were no clouds. Dusk fell like ink into water. Sayo kindled the first lantern. It bloomed with a soft belly of light. Then the second, then the third. The street was soon a river of small suns, and the neighbors' laughter ran along it like fish. In the inner hall, she lit the altar candle and whispered the family prayer, as Yone had taught her. "Kagutsuchi no kami, flame that warms rice and seals lacquer, be gentle in this house." Wind rose, one of those sly, dry breaths that creep down from the hills in late summer. A banner snapped. A lantern bobbed hard against its cord. Sayo set sandpots at the corners, weighted the cords, checked the lids on the water jars. Carefully, she trimmed the altar candle's wick and lowered the flame to a steady blush. Then came the drum parade, all bronze and thunder. Boys ran whooping beneath the lantern strings. A dancer clipped the line with the end of his staff, just enough to send a lantern spinning wildly. It tore free, skittered across the courtyard stones, and crashed against the threshold of the storehouse. In a heartbeat, the straw mat caught, then the dry fringe of a broom, small tongues of orange licking upward, eager. Sayo did not scream. She moved the way Yoni had moved when teaching. Step, breathe, decide. She kicked the burning mat away from the doorway to bare earth, overturned the nearest water jar to drown the broom, smothered the lantern frame with a damp cloth she kept for that purpose. The flame coughed, brightened, died, brightened again, then went out with a stubborn hiss. Smoke rode a crooked line into the night and faded. Neighbors rushed in with clattering buckets, faces hot with fear and praise. Hideo grabbed Sayo's shoulders, searching her for burns. "You were quicker than wind," he said, voice shaking. Yone only nodded, the way old trees nod to thunder they have already survived. Sayo cleaned the blackened threshold and relit one small lantern, setting it low in a clay bowl, a pool of light tamed by earth. She returned to the altar and bowed. The candle flame leaned as if listening. In the silence that followed, Sayo heard again the charcoal seller's voice. "Fire is a guest." Later, when the drums had passed and the street was a constellation of sighing paper moons, the charcoal seller appeared once more by the gate. Only this time his staff smoked at the tip without burning, and the air around him tasted like iron after lightning. "You kept the fire's pride from becoming anger," he said. "Good." He tapped his staff on the threshold. The char stain brightened, then sank into the wood until the mark was neat and dark as lacquer, no longer a wound. Remember 3. Ash for bed, water for courtesy, clay for boundary. Sayo bowed low, and when she dared to look up, there was only a red dragonfly hovering where the old man had stood. It darted toward the altar candle, then away, as if bowing to it in turn. In years to come, Hideo's house became known for its light, never gaudy, always calm. Travelers said the lanterns there seemed to breathe with the night instead of against it. Seo married, and on festival evenings, she taught her own daughter the grammar of flame, how to pinch a wick, where to set a jar, how to let a candle glow like a guest who means to stay and brings no trouble. And when the wind prowled dry from the hills, a dragonfly sometimes rode it, red as a coal, keeping watch. Thank you for journeying with me into these quiet corners of ancient Japan. If these stories brought you a moment of peace or sparked a dream or two, I'd be honored if you'd subscribe and join me again. There are many more nights, many more stories, and countless dreams waiting to be told.